No problem. I was just sitting here.
Hey, I can clean another room.
No, really, it's fine. I was just driving by on my way home for the holidays and thought I'd stop by the old church. Just kind of doing some thinking about things.
Things?
Yeah, some things that happened to me about this time last year. Well, I'll let you get back to your work.
Son, would you like to talk about it?
You don't want to hear it.
You know something? I've got 2 bum knees. And without these glasses, I can't see my hands in front of my face. But there's one thing I've got. A great set of ears. Now, if you got the time to talk to an old man, I'm all yours.
Well, if you really want to hear. Well, by the way, my name's Jim Peterson.
Glad to meet you, Jim. I'm Phil.
Phil, are you familiar with Jesus' words in Matthew where he says, "As you did it unto the least of these, my brothers, you did it unto me"?
Sure. Read it many times.
Well, that passage took on a whole new meaning for me last year when I met a guy who... Well, let me start from the beginning. It all started one day when I was out jogging, something I tried to do several times a week. It was a beautiful day. The sun had just broken through the fog over near the coast. It was a perfect day for running and talking with the Lord. I remember that I had been praying God would show me what I could do with my life. I was attending the university at the time, but I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. I felt like I was just taking up an empty seat at school. I was also working for my dad. He's in the printing business. And I wondered if God wanted me to spend the rest of my life in a print shop. All I knew is that I wanted to serve the Lord in a big way. Lord, make my life count. I knew God had heard my prayer, but what I didn't realize is that He began answering it that same day. I don't remember too many details about that day, but I'll never forget my ferocious friend, a dog. He just had this thing about harassing joggers. It got to be a game we both played every day, but I had just bought my 4th pair of sweatpants. He took a bite out of the others, and I wasn't about to let him get away with it again. That was the first time that had ever happened. Usually he just chased me for a while, then got tired out. But he never stopped so soon or so suddenly before. It was as if he saw something that scared him. At the time, I didn't think much of it.
Morning.
Hello. You're new around here, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm David.
Well, David, where'd you learn to run like that?
Oh, you mean when I passed you up a while ago?
Yeah, me and several cars.
Well, I guess I've just built up some stamina after running all these years.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I gotta run.
Jim. Jim, I didn't just happen to be in the area today. I'd like to talk with you. I must come to your house.
That phrase, I must come to your house. The only other time I'd heard that was when Jesus said it to Zacchaeus. But that wasn't the only thing that was weird. How did he know my name? I thought, well, maybe he knows me from school. But still, I'd never seen this guy before in my life.
Well, this is a nice home you have here, Jim.
Thanks. Well, actually, it belonged to my parents. We've been really fortunate over the years. Oh, but my parents are very generous with their money, and we open our home to church activities. As a matter of fact, Sunday night we're having a college party after the service.
That's great. I'm glad to hear your folks put to good use what God has given them.
May I ask you a personal question?
Sure, go ahead.
Do you know the Lord too?
Yes, I sure do.
Oh, well, great. Well, I did want to ask you. Well, we attend First Church here in town, and I thought, well, maybe you'd like to come with us sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to, Jim. So tell me, what does your father do?
He's in the printing business. It's done pretty well lately.
Do you enjoy working for your father?
Yeah, sometimes the hours are... How did you know I work for my father? And my name. How did you know what? A private investigator.
What?
You must be a private eye.
No.
Of course, but why would you want to know all this about me?
No, Jim, I'm not a private eye.
Well, then what do you do?
Well, I'm a messenger.
A messenger? You mean, like, for companies, corporations, stuff like that?
Right. The biggest corporation.
Well, really? What corporation is that?
Jim, do you know how the Bible talks about messengers from God, angels, and how they made themselves known to people?
Sure.
And do you know how they brought messages from God?
Yeah.
And do you know how the Bible talks about people entertaining angels?
Uh-huh.
Thanks. You've been very entertaining.
Right.
No, Jim. I really am an angel.
Yeah, and I'm Gabriel.
No, I'd know Gabe anyplace. Besides, he's taller than you are.
Oh, well, I guess I can't fool you. Look, David or whoever you are, maybe you better tell me why you're here. I think this little joke has gone on long enough.
Jim, this isn't a joke. I have a message for you from God. Your prayers have been heard.
My what?
Your prayers, including the one you prayed this morning while you were running. Your prayers have been heard, Jim.
Well, yeah, what specific prayers?
Well, you know, how you feel like you're just taking up an empty seat in school and wondering if you're going to spend the rest of your life in a print shop.
Why did you...
And about your desire to serve the Lord in a big way. You remember, Jim. Make my life count.
Boy, you really do know the Lord. Well, I'm sorry I reacted the way I did. I mean, this is a little unusual.
Don't worry about it. I understand.
I mean, it's not like you run into an angel every day of the week. I guess you don't run past one either.
I know you don't. But I have a message for you from God. The Lord has great plans for you, Jim.
Great plans? Me? What are they?
Well, I can't tell you right now. For one thing, he hasn't even revealed them to me yet. But he will. And you'll be the first one to know. But I can say this, Jim. The Lord will greatly use you. And he sent me to help prepare you.
I don't know what to say. I'm sure glad I met you today, David.
Well, I can't take credit for that. But at least I did save you from that dog.
Dog?
Yeah, you know. The one that's eaten your last 3 pairs of sweats.
You stopped it?
Yeah, stood right in front of him. You know, I don't know what it is about me and dogs. I like them. But then I guess some are just afraid of me.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was amazing. Here I was running with a real live angel. Well, or at least trying to.
David, can we slow up the pace a little bit?
But I was so excited, I couldn't believe it. At first, I felt really nervous. You know, afraid I would say or do something wrong. But I really felt at ease around him. Probably the way people felt around Jesus. Oh, but don't worry, I didn't worship him. After all, he was just a messenger from God, with a message for me. And boy, I could only dream about what that message was, and what great things the Lord had planned for me. But I just knew I had to wait until the right time. Until then, I tried to get to know David better and learn as much as I could. What an opportunity. You know, I would have expected you to have wings.
And a halo?
Yeah.
Nope. This is standard equipment.
You mean you all look the same?
Oh, no. People look different from one another. So do angels.
Hey, what's heaven like?
Oh, boy. Can't even begin to describe it to you. Besides, it's only under construction right now. I can't even imagine what it's going to look like when the Lord's done with it.
I bet it'll make Beverly Hills look like a low-rent district. What's the matter? You got an earache?
My ears?
Yeah.
Oh, no, they just haven't popped yet.
Popped?
Yeah, you know, like, when you come down in a plane.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's quite an altitude change from up there and down here.
Amazing.
Actually, it's more like annoying. Usually it takes a couple of days for him to get back to normal.
Try this.
No, thanks. I think I'll keep my brains intact.
Well, whatever. I hope you'll be all right.
Oh, I'll be fine. Come on, let's go.
Right. Time for more follow the leader. Well, what do you think?
I think we just got here, Jim.
Oh,
Say, are you nervous that I'm checking out your church?
well,
Let's see, if at least 10 people greeted me with a holy kiss, that's a check. Ah, sufficient supply of glow-in-the-dark visitors badges. It's a big check. Added pews. That's 2 checks. If you teach junior high boys, you're gonna know how they study.
that's exactly.
May I have your attention, please?
We'd like to welcome you here to the First Church College Career Class. We are glad that all of you are here with us today, especially our visitors. Now, there's just a few announcements here before we begin the lesson. First of all, don't forget our big church party over at Jim Peterson's tonight. There's a map here up on the board. Some of the girls are making a huge feast for us, so we'll see you there tonight. Second, as most of you know, our class supports an orphanage down in Mexico, and every year we send canned goods to them. Now, we allow the community to participate so they can donate cans themselves. So we're going out this Saturday to pass out flyers.
That reminds me, I want to show you this great beach up near Malibu Saturday.
Now, Jerry's taking a group over to the North Park area, and I'm going to the shopping center. Do we have any volunteers? Stuart? Scott? Becky? Terry? Excuse me. I'm not sure I know you. Is this your first time here?
This is a friend of mine, David. We've been running together lately.
Well, David, we're glad to have you here. Where are you from?
He's from around.
Actually, my business involves a lot of travel.
Well, would you like to stand and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, as Jim said, I do like to run a lot. And, well, I follow most sports, particularly baseball.
Well, you can feel right at home here. You're surrounded by baseball fans. What team do you follow?
Well, I'm kind of partial to the Angels.
You do have friends here. Well, I hope you enjoy Southern California. Oh, excuse me, David. You did have your hand up, right?
Yeah, if it's okay, I'd like to go with you on Saturday.
Okay, are you kidding? You can go with me. Now, that's what I call getting involved. Okay, anyone else? Jim and John, Carla, Jack, and Kathy. Great. Now, you guys go with Jerry. Now, don't forget, we're meeting here at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Well, now that we've introduced David, are there any other visitors here?
Yes, I'd like to introduce my boyfriend, George Bukich. George is the quarterback for the university.
I don't believe it. She finally got him to come. That guy's incredible. First in passing in the whole conference.
Well, thanks, George, for coming here. We're glad to have you here with us. Any other first-timers? Excuse me. Isn't this your first time here?
Yeah.
Well, could you stand and let us know who you are?
I'm Kevin Rutledge, and I live down the street.
Well, can you tell us what you do?
I work down at Miller's Garage. I'm a mechanic.
I think I know him. He's worked on my car a few times.
Do you have any interests or hobbies?
No, just, fixing cars.
Well, Kevin, thanks for coming.
Rick Rice comes today to confess his faith in Jesus Christ and to take him as Lord of his life and to obey the gospel. Rick, I have but one question to ask of you. Do you believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, and do you take him as your personal Savior?
I do.
Rick, God bless you. Would you like to say something to the congregation?
I'd like to thank you for coming over to my house and sharing with me and spending so much time with me. And I'd like to thank the congregation for helping me and being with me. And just thanks for helping.
You know, the scriptures teach us that the angels in heaven rejoice when a sinner repents. May God bless you for your confession of faith and your desire to obey the gospel today.
I asked my mom if George could come to dinner today. We've been trying for a long time to get him involved. And she's always got plenty, so you're invited too.
Oh, well, thanks. Listen, Jim, do you think your mom would mind if Kevin came along too?
Why would we want to invite Kevin?
Well, I just thought that he could use a friend. Do you think your mom would mind?
Well, no. I mean, she's always got plenty.
Oh, great. I'll go ask him.
Sure.
George, why don't you finish up that rice? And there are plenty of rolls.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Peterson. I've had plenty.
A young athlete like you needs to keep up his strength. Why, when I played ball, I used to eat twice that much.
Daddy's a quarterback, not a sumo wrestler.
Now, Jim, be nice to your old dad.
Are you just such an easy target?
Here, Mrs. Peterson, let me help.
Thank you, David.
Dear, what's for dessert?
Something Jim stopped to get on his way home.
Oh, and what might that be?
Angel food cake.
So, George, my dad's quite a fan of yours. We try and catch a game every now and then.
Well, I hope some of the better ones.
Are you kidding? They're all great.
How do things look for the pro draft, George?
Well, right now, Buffalo and Kansas City are showing some interest, but it's really too early to tell.
So, Kevin, how's the repair business going?
Oh, okay, I guess. You know.
My car's been running great since you fixed that fuel line.
It's okay.
Say, George, what kind of car do you drive?
Mercedes.
Just a Mercedes. No, wait, I know what he's gonna say next. Yeah, well, it gets me around. Yeah. I didn't realize it at the time, but already I was ignoring people who I thought were unimportant. I was too caught up in the dream of what God would do with me, too preoccupied with famous or popular people to care about those that really needed attention. I was on my way, and I didn't want to be bothered with people like Kevin.
Well, it's no Mercedes, but it gets me around.
That's the important thing, isn't it?
It was okay anyway. I like Sly.
Thanks for coming over. I appreciate it. Glad you could come.
Thanks, Jim.
See you next week, maybe.
Say, Kevin, I'm glad we had a chance to get to know each other. And I want to thank you for sharing some of your needs with me. I'll be praying about your sore back.
Oh, it's really no big deal. I guess I just slid under too many cars and trucks.
Well, I just want you to know that I care about you. And you let me know if I can help.
Thanks. Well, Kevin, I'm glad you could make it this afternoon.
Oh, well, thanks for inviting me, Jim. I really appreciate it. In fact, if you don't mind, I'd like to return the favor by tuning up your car.
Oh, well, Kevin, I couldn't ask you to do that.
Oh, no, yeah, I'd like to do it. It's a holiday tomorrow and the shop's closed. I could take it down there in the morning. No one will be there, but, I can use the equipment. You have it back by noon.
Well, I guess my car is due for a tune-up. Why don't I break it down there myself, say around 9?
Great.
You know, I have to admit, that's the best church party I've ever been to.
Yeah, me too. It's too bad all those sponsors had to get thrown in the pool.
Shameful. Well,
I'm taking a break.
I think I'll join you.
Be my guest.
Don't mind if I do.
Hey, you know, you still haven't told me yet.
Oh, yeah? Told you what?
Well, you know, about the big plans God has for me.
You'll find out soon enough.
Okay, don't tell me. I bet I can guess, though.
Oh, you think you can, huh?
Yeah. I've been thinking about all the great ways God could use me, and I've narrowed it down to just a few. I wonder which one it'll be. Maybe I'll be the minister of a large church. Turn with me, if you will, to the Gospel according to St. Matthew, reading in the 25th chapter, beginning with the 40th verse. Let me take this opportunity while you're looking up the scripture to express my mild disappointment at seeing the attendance down today. However, due to the fact that this is a holiday weekend, that's understandable. I'm sure that next week, though, we'll do much better as you invite your friends and relatives. Well, now that you've had a chance to find the scripture, let's read together, shall we? Maybe I'll be a missionary. Action, adventure, travel. Or maybe even... Nah. Well, then again, maybe.
From Hollywood, it's The Electric Churchman, starring Jim Peterson.
What a fellowship, what a joy divine leading on the everlasting arms. What a blessedness, what a peace is mine, leading on the everlasting arms.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our show. And have we got a show for you? Among our guests, all-pro quarterback, a man who really loves the Lord, and a good friend of mine, George Bukich. We'll be back to talk to George right after this message. Well, I understand if you can't tell me. I mean, these things take time. Well, look at Billy Graham. I mean, he didn't become a great evangelist overnight, you know.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Listen, Jim. Did it ever occur to you that God might have something else in mind for you?
What do you mean?
I mean, something that gets less attention, less recognition.
Well, yeah, it crossed my mind, but... Well, I look at it this way. I mean, why would he have sent you all this way if it wasn't something really important? Tell me that.
Oh, no. Now, I'm sure that it's important, all right. It's just that it may not be what you're expecting.
Right. Sure. Right.
And, Jim, I also know that, well, the Lord did send me to help prepare you for whatever he has planned, and...
And what?
There's an area I think you need to work on.
What's that?
It's about Kevin.
What about him?
Well, I just noticed how you tend to avoid him.
Me? When?
Well, for starters, you weren't crazy about the idea of me inviting him over here yesterday for dinner. And then while he ate with us, you hardly paid any attention to him at all. And then later on...
I spend time with Kevin.
Oh? At the party last night, he just sat there. Nobody came by to talk with him or anything, including you.
David, I just don't have the time to spend with every new guy that comes to church. I mean, do you know how big a church that is? There are a lot of people like Kevin who never get any attention at all. I mean, where do you start?
You could try starting with Kevin.
David, listen, and try to understand. I just can't relate to Kevin. I mean, well, the biggest dream he's got is fixing cars. Me, I've got bigger dreams than that. What have we got in common?
Jim, I'm not sure what God's plans are a few years down the road, but I do know this. There are lots of people like Kevin, that you could be ministering to right now. Listen, I'm not just talking about Kevin. I'm talking about people you run into all the time, every day. People who need to see Christ in you. People who need to be ministered to.
Jim, phone.
David, look, I just haven't got the time for that.
For me by 10?
No problem.
Good man.
Morning, Jim. How's it going?
Good, Jack. How was your holiday?
Oh, fair. Say, is your dad in yet?
I don't think so. Why?
Well, we've got this new kid coming in today, and I wanted to,
Wait a minute. Don't tell me.
Yep.
Jack, I got troubled kids coming out of my ears.
Okay, settle down. Look, this guy's from a broken home. It says here the parents are divorced, and neither parent wants to spend any time with him or let him stay with him.
Jack, it's not that I don't want him. I just haven't got the time. And every time one of these guys comes in, I've got to spend time listening to his problems, then teach him how to use the machines.
Yeah, I know, but come on, Jim, do it. The guy could really use a break. I knew I could count on you. You know, after all, your father's been real good to guys like this in the past, and, well, if you're planning on taking over this business someday, I think you'd be smart to follow in his footsteps in this area, too.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to follow in his footsteps.
What was that?
Nothing.
Hey, you looking for me?
Yeah. Tim, isn't it?
Yes, Tim Bridgeford.
Have a seat. So, you're interested in printing, are you?
Yeah, kinda, I guess.
Listen, I'm sorry to hear about your folks breaking up and all. I'd like to help you out, but I'm afraid about all I can give you is a job. I'm not going to be able to spend a whole lot of time with you either.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, I really would like to help you out. It's just, well, I get pretty busy around here. We'll start you on floors today. Tomorrow you can start on the cutter. You want to come with me?
I'm going to take a break. You care to join me?
Sure, just a minute.
Hey, you must be the new kid. Are you Tim?
Yeah.
Hey, glad to meet you. I'm Jack. What do you think? Think he's ready to take a break, too?
No, he's only been working about an hour. He can take one later.
Hey, Tim, tell you what I'm going to do. I'll bring you back something to drink.
Thanks. Do they have Cactus Cooler here?
Yeah, I think so.
Good. That's my favorite.
Coming right up.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, dear. How was your day?
Long. Did I get any calls?
Yes, as a matter of fact. Kevin Rutledge, that boy who came for dinner last week, he called again.
Oh?
Didn't you return his call yesterday?
No, I didn't have time.
You know, he seems like such a lonely person.
Yeah. Did David call?
No, I'm afraid not. Why don't you call him?
I don't know his number.
Why don't you try information?
I think it's long distance.
Okay, everybody. Let's grab some flyers and start passing them out. Remember, it's important to give them to people personally, you know, instead of just putting them on a windshield or in somebody's mailbox. And don't forget to get the park, okay? Let's cover it pretty well. And let's meet back here around 11 or so, okay?
All right.
Great.
Excuse me, young man.
Yes, sir?
Excuse me, are you with some church around here?
Yes, sir. First Church?
Oh, yes. That's not very far from here, is it?
No, sir.
Well, you know, son, by the way, what is your name?
Jim Peterson, sir.
Well, you know, Jim, I used to do some work with the needy. That's a great work you're doing.
Well, actually, all I'm doing is passing out these flyers.
Well, you keep it up. That's a great work you're doing. You know, I used to attend the Magnolia Street Church. That was a good church. I really enjoyed going there. And you know, I'm not so young anymore. I had to quit driving my car. I just stay home now. My son put me up in a home over here. They call it a retirement home. But you know, if my son, his family, really knew the Lord and really attended regularly, they'd come by and pick me up and take me to church. Or at least come by and visit me.
I really better run, sir. My group's gonna meet over here.
Oh, sure, son. Goodbye. But that's a great work you're doing.
Well, David.
Hi, Jim.
Where have you been all week?
Oh, I've been around.
Well, it's good to see you. Hey, I'm about ready to take a breather. You want something to drink?
Sounds great.
Good. So, what have you been up to?
Oh, I had some business to take care of.
Oh. Well, what'll it be?
Do you have any cactus cooler?
No, I don't.
Ah, too bad. That's my favorite.
What drink did you say?
Cactus cooler. Why?
Nothing. Sorry. None of that. How about iced tea?
Fine.
My folks have been gone for the weekend. I've been working all day, trying to get some things done around here.
Oh, is there anything I can do to help? Maybe like mop some floors? Need some help?
No, I'm fine, thanks. No problem. Listen, I really don't have a whole lot of time to chat. I really kind of need to get some work done.
Ah, yes, the backyard. Well, keep it up, Jim. That's a great work you're doing. Here, let me help.
It was you. You're Tim Bridgeford. And that old man.
Was.
But I never could have guessed.
I know. It's the way I wanted it.
But why? Why did you do it?
To teach you something, Jim. I wanted to show you that you'd treat me differently if I was, well, someone else. Sure, I'm your friend like this. But if I looked or acted differently, I'd stop being your friend.
But David, you'll never stop being my friend.
Oh? Well, I wasn't your friend when I was Tim Bridgeford. Or the old man at the park.
But if I would have only known it was you.
Then you wouldn't have treated me that way? Jim, is that the way it should be? Is the reason you help someone because they might be an angel? When you reach out to a troubled teenager or spend time with a lonely person, it's not that they might be an angel. No, it's someone much more important.
I don't understand.
Let me use scripture to make it clear for you. In fact, Jesus' own words. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he'll sit on his throne in heavenly glory. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he'll separate the people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He'll put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then he'll say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and come to visit you?" The king will reply, "I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me." Jim, you have time for angels, but you never seem to have time for the least of these. Now, you may never entertain another angel, but the least of these you'll always have with you. And when you minister to them, it's just as though you're ministering to Jesus himself. And the least of these aren't only the hungry or the thirsty or those who need clothing or the strangers or the sick or those in prison. They also include the orphan, the widow, the poor, the unlovely, the overlooked, the ones who are always left out, the Tims, the lonely, and the Kevins. Jim, all you have to do is look around you.
You're leaving now, aren't you?
Yes.
this was the message you came to deliver? And the big plans God has for me?
The greatest thing you can do right now is minister to the least of these.
And that's what I'll do. The best I know how.
Good.
And I'll start with Kevin. In fact, I'll call him today.
Jim. Kevin's in the hospital.
What?
He had surgery yesterday on his spine. It was pretty serious. But he'll be okay. He needs you, Jim.
Why didn't he tell me?
Well, he would have, had you answered his calls. But he mainly called to find out if you could reach me and let me know. I guess I was the only friend he had at the time.
Well, now he's got another. Well, you better hurry. You'll miss your flight. Will I see you again?
You never know.
I'd like that.
Tell you what, you keep your eyes open for a guy rubbing his ears.
I just couldn't stop thinking about David's words. And all the time since, every time I see Kevin or anyone like him, I'm reminded that I'm ministering to Christ.
Well, Jim, you sure learned that lesson in a unique way.
I sure did. I mean, I wasn't used to keeping company with an angel.
Yeah, at least not that you were aware of.
Right.
So what are you doing?
Studying printing. I'm going to follow in my footsteps.
Oh? Not the minister of a church? Missionary?
No. I figure I can minister to people no matter what I do. There'll always be plenty of people like Kevin to reach out to.
Sounds like the Lord does have big plans for you, after all.
Well, I better let you get back to your work. I've taken enough of your time.
Oh, forget it, Jim. I loved hearing your story.
Say, listen, I'll be around for a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll see you.
Yeah, Jim. Maybe.
So long. Mr. Cox.
Jim? Jim Peterson.
How are you, Mr. Cox?
Oh, keeping pretty busy. You home from school?
Well, for a couple of weeks. You know, it's amazing how much this church has grown.
Yeah. You know, it's mighty hard for an old janitor like me to keep it up, too.
Well, I can remember when we could hardly afford one custodian, let alone two.
I'm afraid I'm still the only one. I've never been busier. You know, I remember a couple of years ago, we had this big group come in here.
What did you say?
I said I've never been busier. Anyway, this group drew such a crowd. I put up 250 chairs.
No, what do you mean you're the only one? What about Phil?
Who?
Phil. I just spent the last hour in the sanctuary talking to a guy named Phil. He's a custodian here.
Jim, I'm the only custodian at this church. Have been for 15 years.